Oh, you there? Okay. Sorry, just had to do something before I started. But let's think about this, friends. Let's think about this. Have you ever met people? Have you ever met people that live simply saying, there is another chance? These people are so relaxed that they live by saying, there is always another one. So don't worry, don't rush it. There is always another one. Have you met that kind of people ever? There is always another one. You don't have to rush in life. You don't have to worry in life. You don't have to think about what's happening around your life, because if you miss a movie, don't worry. There is another showing. If you miss a girl that you're dating, or your first date, you miss it, don't worry. There will be another girl. There is always another. You don't have to worry and rush in life. Just relax. Have you ever met that kind of people? Have you? Amen. Just like that, the ones that think, hey, there's always another one. Don't worry, rush it. Had to catch a train while traveling. Right? The station was busy, but he wasn't worried. He was relaxed. He bought a coffee, checked his phone, looked around, and noticed people suddenly getting up and hurrying toward the platform. And of course, being the relaxed person he smiled. He said, look at these people. Everyone is so dramatic. He took another sip of coffee, and then the announcement came over the speakers, now boarding. Still no hurry. Relax. Trains, he says, run all day. Relax. A few moments later, he finally strolled toward the platform just in time to see the doors close. He waved. Hey, I'm here, I'm coming. The conductor looked at him, the passengers looked at him. The train left without him. He stood there, coffee in hand, still smiling, for about 3 seconds. Then he walked back to the ticket counter and said, that's okay. I'll just catch the next one. The lady behind the counter looked up and said, I'm sorry, sir. That was the last train today. He looked at the empty tracks. He looked at his coffee. He looked back at the lady. You're telling me I missed it by less than a minute? And she nodded. Now, friends, notice. He hadn't chosen the wrong train. He hadn't gone to the wrong station. He simply assumed there will always be another opportunity. And in less than 60 seconds, what had been almost became too late. There are moments in life when being almost there isn't enough. Today, church, I want to talk to you about another man who stood incredibly close to something priceless. He had every opportunity. He had every reason, every piece of evidence. He was closer than most people who have ever lived. Yet history remembers him for what he almost did. Almost. This narrative that we read from John chapter 18 goes all the way to John chapter 19, verses 16. But you can also find it in Matthew chapter 27, verses 11 through 26. This is one of those narratives that you find in all four Gospels, because you also find it in Mark chapter 15. And you also find it in Luke chapter 23. And this is your homework for this afternoon. Read all those narratives so you get the bigger picture of what's taking place here. Again, John chapter 18, John chapter 19, Matthew 27, Mark 15, and Luke 23. Did you write it down? It's your homework. Almost saved. Almost saved. We read the passage. And the character that comes out in the passage, his name is Pontius Pilate, a Roman governor. One that had the privilege to see Jesus last before he goes to Calvary. I want to tell you a couple of things about this person. And at the end of this message, I want to appeal to your heart. And I'm going to tell you for now, don't be like Pilate. Because when Pilate encountered Jesus, number one, Pilate faces the truth. Notice, in John chapter 18, 33 through 38, which is the passage we read for this, notice that there Jesus is not being on trial. It's not Jesus the one being on trial. Pilate is. The one being judged, it wasn't Jesus, was not Jesus. Or let's go into the narrative. It is not Jesus. The one on trial is Pilate. Now think about this, friends. This little, how do you call this? This little gavel, this little piece of wood represents authority. I mean, with one strike, just one of them, a governor could declare someone innocent or even guilty. Now, when he used his authority and he did this, the verdict he's given is, I find no fault in him. Now, why do you think that he would say this? Why would he say, I found no fault in him? Because there was none. There was no fault in Jesus, because Jesus was perfect. That's why he didn't find fault in him. But then, if the judge said that he was innocent, why isn't he free? Why is he free? Could it just be because the one holding the gavel was not the one judging, but the one being judged? Jesus asked questions. Pilate answers. Jesus speaks about truth. Pilate asks, what is truth? But right after he asks that question, he walks away before hearing the answer. Again, Pilate says, what is truth? And then he walks away before the answer is given. Have you noticed, friends, that is today's culture. People ask, then walk away before listening. See, friends, one of the biggest problems of this society, the one that we're living in, is an ignorance. All that you have to do is just open your phone and you have all the information you want in the world. Just ask. You don't even need to type nowadays. I mean, just this morning, I was talking to ChatGPT. Now you can talk to them and it's just like a conversation. It's there. So this modern society, the problem with this modern society is not ignorance. The problem is indecision. It is indecision. One of the great literature that you will find about this same, besides the Bible, besides Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that you will find is the book called Desire of Ages. Have you heard about that book? Desire of Ages? Not yet. Go back. Desire of Ages. You heard about that book? Anyone knows it? Well, the Desire of Ages in chapter 77 talks about all these, that puts together all that is found in the Gospels, and is beautifully tracks every step that happens between these authority, quote unquote, and the authority. The book Desire of Ages says about this, that Pilate was deeply impressed by Christ's dignity. I always ask myself, what would it be, how would it be to be in front of Jesus? Even if he was covered by humanity, just imagine to be standing there. I bet you, friends, there was something about him that you would say, your soul would say, this is not just a regular man. As a matter of fact, when Pilate brings Jesus in front of the crowd, Pilate will introduce Jesus this way. Aka or aka homo is Latin to say, here, the man. Pilate wasn't saying another man. He knew there was something in his spirit, there was something in his inner being that said to Pilate, this is not just another man. But the book Desire of Ages says something like this, that Pilate had never before looked upon a man like Jesus. The writer describes the calm majesty of Christ. Not weakness, royal authority. And Pilate senses something supernatural in this man. See, friends, many people, and I will tell you, friends, there is this chapter 77 in the book of Desire of Ages is so rich, but the one sentence that struck my soul was this, friends. She says that when Pilate saw Jesus, next one, he didn't see the marks of a criminal. Pilate saw the signature of heaven. Imagine. See, friends, many people have enough evidence today. They've seen prayers answered. They've seen changed lives. They've heard scripture. They experienced conviction. But see, friends, knowledge isn't their problem. They have all the evidence. They have grown knowing about God, knowing about the scriptures, knowing about God's ways. Knowledge is not the problem. Decision is the problem. It's what to do, how to work this information, this knowledge that we have acquired. Pilate faced truth. And with that, this question that is found in Matthew chapter 27, verse 22. What do you want me to do with Jesus, they called Christ? This is the question. After gathering all the information and questioning and investigating, he comes out with this question. This is all that he had, because he didn't find it. He found no fault in him. He asked this question: what do you want me to do with Jesus? What do you want me to do with Jesus? So he faces the truth, and he asked, what do you want me to do with Jesus? But Pilate also not only faces the truth, he also fights the truth. Pilate fights the truth. Next one. I think I have it there. Yes. Pilate fights the truth. And this is where the story becomes fascinating. Because there are certain warnings. There are certain what, friends? Warnings that are given to him for him to do something about the information that is given to him. 7 of them. 7 warnings. How many? 7 warnings are given to Pilate for him to say, okay, I need to, uninvited, are being encouraged to make a decision, to take a position. 7 of them. The first warning is Jesus' character. I mean, he examines this man, and the answer is, I found no fault in him. Jesus' character was spotless, friends. He knew he didn't act as a criminal. That was the first warning. But then there was another warning, and as we know, he conducted his own investigation. And as a result, 3 times, he says, I find no fault in him. I find no fault in him. I find no fault in him. 3 times. Second warning. Warning number 1, check the victim's character. Warning number 2, there is no fault in him. And he still doesn't get it. So another warning. Warning number 3. At this point, Herod, who was the overseeing of the Galilean territory, was in not good terms with this governor, Pilate. And so for some reason, he tried to get out of the way and not be involved in this, that he knew it was unjust. He decided to send the victim, Jesus, to see Herod, because Jesus was a Galilean. So he says, let's send it to Herod. So Herod judges this man, because he's Galilean and Herod is over Galilee. And so he sends Jesus there, and guess what happened with Herod? Herod found no fault in him. So what did he do? He sends Jesus back to Pilate. Even Herod couldn't condemn Jesus. That was another warning. But that wasn't enough for Pilate, because there was another warning given. He hasn't made his mind. He hasn't made any decision yet. So another warning. Warning number 4. And this is a piece of advice for all the husbands here. Husbands, listen to your wives. In Matthew 27, Pilate's wife comes to him and said, have nothing to do with that just man. Have nothing to do with this man, just man. Now imagine God interrupts the governor's breakfast through a dream, and he doesn't get it. Pilate receives heaven's warning in the middle of court, and he doesn't get it. Warning number 1, he doesn't get it. Warning number 2, he doesn't get it. Warning number 3, he doesn't get it. Another warning. Warning number 4, he doesn't get it. Through the wife, still he doesn't get it. So warning number 5. This crowd, these people that are bringing Jesus before this despised governor, because remember, they were Jews, this was a Gentile. But ironically, their hatred exposes Jesus' innocence. Just because of their hatred, just because of their faces and what they were doing against these men, was a warning for him to see there is something wrong here, and I need to make a decision. I need to oppose to this. He does not get it. But there is one more warning then necessary, and is given to him. When he asked questions, Jesus went silent. There was a fulfillment of the prophet Isaiah that took place, that was giving us a warning to this man. And he doesn't get it. So one more warning. Warning number 7. And this is the most visual of all, if you please. The scourging. The scourging. The scourging that happens here, friends, in front, that was ordered by him. Pilate is asking the soldiers to scourge Jesus so badly that blood will come out and people, the crowd will say, please stop that. Don't do this to that innocent man. Did they do that? See, notice that Pilate is hoping pity will replace justice. He was hoping that these people will say, this is too much, this is too ugly, let's stop this. Instead of him being the authority, instead of him imparting the justice that this case called for. Instead of obeying conviction, he negotiates that conviction. Many Christians, friends, many Christians negotiate. Many do the same. I'll get baptized later. I will get baptized later. I will surrender after college. After I get my family, then I will follow Jesus. Then I will be committed to the church, to God's church. Then I will do that. Later, after I make money, after I get retired, then, just like Pilate, people keep trying to avoid making a decision. The book Desire of Ages, again, about the same thing. It says, there is so dense, the book is so dense, the chapter is so dense, if I have to summarize the whole chapter 17 of the book, I will tell you simply this. Every compromise made the next compromise easier. Have you noticed that once you say a lie, you have to say another one to keep it? And another one to hold the other one? Because once you compromise, the next one is much easier. This is what Pilate is experiencing. That's, my dear friends, is true in life. Pilate fought the truth because he didn't want to answer the question. What was the question? What then shall I do with Jesus, who is called the Christ? But Pilate not only faces the truth, he not only fights the truth, Pilate finally decides upon the truth. When did he do this? When did he decide upon the truth that was delivered to him? He did it by refusing to decide. He decided for this by refusing to decide. Now, I told you that John 8:19 also talks about this, and the Jews say they in chapter 19, when he was hesitant, he would come to him and said, if you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend. And you know that if the crowd wouldn't come to Caesar and said, this is what this man did, he wouldn't lost his place as a governor. And so he knew this was a serious complaint. So now everything changes after this. If you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend. Everything changes here. Pilate now has to choose between what? Truth or career? Truth or career. That's the two options he has. He has to choose from truth or career. Friends, we need to know that being convinced is not the same as being converted. He was convinced. I have found no fault in him. He was convinced that he was innocent. He was convinced that this was not just another man. He was the man, capital T, capital M. He was convinced that indeed this is the Son of God. But friends, being convinced is not the same as being converted. So what does Pilate do? Do you remember? What does Pilate do in the text? Did he Pilate washed his hands. But friends, water can take dirt away, but not guilt. Not guilt. His hands looked clean, except they were not. Pilate washed his hands, but he couldn't wash his conscience. He washed his hands, but water doesn't cleanse guilt. Only Christ does. Water can remove dirt, but it cannot remove disobedience. We need to understand, just like with Pilate, that every delay is indeed a decision. The book Desire of Ages essentially says here, Pilate, in trying to save his position, remember, career or truth, he tried to continue with that authority he had. He wanted to hold tight to it. But because of that, he lost everything. This inspired writer, the writer of the Desire of Ages book, and many historians affirm, as well as tradition also confirms this, that Pilate eventually lost office. That which he wanted to keep, he lost it. But not just that, he later died by suicide. Pilate kept Caesar, but Pilate lost Christ. But let's think a little more about this. We're not done. Pilate is not done. Who was really on trial here? Was it Jesus? Or was it Pilate? Church, maybe every Sabbath, Jesus sits before us. Not physically, but through his word, through conviction, through the Holy Spirit. And the question isn't, friends, the question isn't, what will Jesus do? The question is, what will I do with Jesus? Friends, we need to understand that some mistakes are not made by choosing the wrong thing. They're made by refusing to choose. Pilate had all the evidence. I mean, nobody stood closer to Jesus, yet nobody came closer to salvation without entering it. And in Matthew 27, verse 22, Pilate asked again, "What shall I do then with Jesus who is called Christ?" But that question never died. Because that same question echoes today in this very room. Every sermon asks the same question. Every conviction asks the same question. Every appeal asks the same question. Every Sabbath asks the same question. What will you do with Jesus? Can you play? Throughout this trial, there was one empty seat. And as you saw, Pilate never sat in it. Because Pilate actually sat on the judgment seat, not there. Who do you think should have been sitting there in that judgment seat? The judge, Jesus. But in this trial, the judge was judged. The innocent stood where the guilty belonged. The guilty sat where the judge belonged. Friends, this is the gospel. This is the exchange. Christ takes my place so I can take his place. It is not about Pilate's courtroom anymore. It is about Christ's Calvary. It is about Calvary. This is how close he was. This is how close he was from Jesus. Jesus was standing next to him right there. He saw him, he sensed him, he knew this was not just another man. He was so close. But he never crossed that line. He never dared to say, he never crossed that line. And friends, the sad reality is that some of us already believe, some of us already know, some of us are already studying. We are convicted. You know what God is asking you. You know that, but the only thing left is your decision. And I'm here to appeal to you, friends. You who thought I'm coming just to see what's going on. This is my first time. I haven't been here in a while. This is just this one time. You thought it was just another time you were coming here. No, God has been after you for years. And here's my appeal. Please, please, don't become another Pilate. Don't be almost saved. Decide what to do with Jesus today. Today, if you hear his voice, today if you feel the Holy Spirit has been calling you and you have been running for so long, you haven't been having this intimate relationship that Jesus wants to have with you, why not starting today? Why not saying today, Lord, yeah, I haven't been, but I'm here now. That's all what matters. It's not where you were before. Pilate wasn't a good man, but Jesus was again and again inviting him to cross the line. So it's not about where you were yesterday, not even about where you were this morning, is where you are right now. Jesus is on the other side of that line. Are you going to cross the line? Or are you going to turn around and live the greatest of all the opportunities you have?